Previously on Unpacked.
I'm not a girl, I'm not a boy, I'm not a female, I'm not a male, I am an intersex.
It was discovered that I was born without a uterus.
No two intersex people are the same.
Being an intersex is my normality and it's my reality.
We continue the conversation with Dimakatso, Sedibi, and Crystal Hendricks, who are here to tell us about their lives as intersex individuals. Let's continue to unpack. Dimakatso, I'd like to come to you just in terms of how have you found society treats you, especially if they don't know you are intersex?
Word. When something is not known, it's not of God. It's unnatural, it's demonic, it's not supposed to be here. You know, that makes it way too difficult. That's why actually it's difficult even for the rest of the LGBTQI people. It becomes a journey to even come out, you know, because of the community. So hence I believe education is really needed because when people don't know something, it's not supposed to be here or it's wrong. Yeah.
How have you found people treat you without you announcing you're intersex? Because you already said, do they just treat you like you're lesbian? Do they just treat you like you're a woman? Do they just treat you? How do people treat you?
Well, it differs, obviously, because some people have an understanding, some people have knowledge of LGBTQI, but most people think I assume that I'm lesbian because obviously my appearance, in terms of breast, obviously, but then it's a matter of Dimakatso wants to be a boy or Dimakatso wants to be something is not. I'm not. You know, Dimakatso has to be, what? Killed? Get killed.
Wow.
Or corrective rape. You know, so there's just so many challenges, you know.
What happened with who said to you that you need to be killed?
There's quite a lot of people. Even at church, they do mention that LGBTQI people, we're not supposed to be living, you know.
Wow.
So that's why we actually still keep getting killed every day. You know, yeah.
And that's said at church?
Yeah, most churches.
And
they're not preaching love, they're preaching hate, you know, which is, I feel it's not godly, obviously.
And who is saying to you that, you know, corrective rape? Because again, it's so wrong, even on the principles of corrective rape.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a girl, that means you need to sleep with a boy. Yeah, because of my appearance. For the fact that I have breasts, that means I have to have a man. You understand? Yeah. And it's not always what's between your legs that makes you a woman or a man. You know, so yeah.
But also, they don't even know what's between your legs.
Exactly.
So, like, I'm so confused.
Exactly. You know, as much as I was going through confusion growing up of my anatomy. So imagine if I'm not understanding what's happening to me and you asking me, you know, already, you telling me that you being you is wrong. You know, already I would feel like I don't belong here. You know, that's where most of the suicidal thoughts start, especially in school. You know, because you're different. You notice that you're different from other kids. And the more they give you names, the more you feel not belonging, the more you feel, you know what, I think I'm in the wrong planet. Or maybe they're right, I'm not normal. Maybe they're right, God doesn't love me. You know, there could be quite a whole lot of things that would contribute in how you would think about yourself also, and how you even think about God, you know. And what bothers me is when it comes to homosexuality, somehow the debate or the conversation ends up being about religion, you know, and we end up not being out of the conversation or out of the content, you know, because people, their opinion when it comes to, especially the whole acronym is that people would have to put religion in it. And everybody has a right to live. That's why we all here. Everybody has a purpose of being here. You know, I think probably because of all the surgeries or all the pain that I've went through, that I had to probably go through it for me to be brave and stand today to say no surgery is supposed to be performed to babies that are born with both genitalia. I mean, there's nothing wrong being born intersex. And being intersex, that's your normality. That is your reality. And the more people would know about intersex, and obviously there's more than 30 types. there's still research that people are still doing about intersex people, you understand? And I believe the more people open their minds and especially their hearts to learn, to understand, there would be no chaos, I believe.
On your side, Crystal, I mean, you didn't have any physical attributes that said anything but female. Did you find that society has treated you a certain way?
Yeah, I would say the most thing now society treats someone like myself, that does identify as an intersex a woman. They do isolate you from a lot of things, that women talk about. So, firstly, I've never had a period. So that's always awkward conversations. Sometimes you're in a class and the teacher talks about female anatomy, they speak about menstruation, they speak about childbirth, and nothing in that education system applies to me as an intersex person. And so that I could probably have just skipped that whole class of biology. And I feel just like there needs to be a system where there's more education around intersex people and their loved realities. Because the problem is as well is that, like Dimakatso said, that their parents went for surgery. It's because it's not that they made a choice, but I would say it's an uninformed decision. Because if you don't have knowledge about something, you will just have the surgery. Like, I was born with internal ovaries or testes, and those were producing testosterone in my body or estrogen. However, they were removed by doctors because they said it could become cancerous. Upon doing research, there's no research that proves that, if intersex people do not have surgery, that they won't have, complications, and vice versa as well. So most of, the surgeries that's performed, it's really unnecessary because society wants you to fit, a certain binary notion of what a male and a female should look like. I think in my case, I do see myself as one of the fortunate intersex people because I didn't have any physical traits, so I wasn't harmed at birth. However, I did have surgery when I was a teenager to have my internal testes removed, which was also harmful. Because of that removal, I need to go on permanent hormone replacement therapy. And it's been proven that actually taking hormones for an extensive time in your life can actually cause cancer, and that can actually become cancerous as well. So I feel like the treatment of society is that, they just want to normalize everyone and they want intersex people to not feel normal. And I mean, we can see that every day with what's going on. Like, if you don't tick the boxes, if you don't fit the categories, then you should just be isolated and you don't get like everybody else.
And I think it's so great that your stories, I think it's so great that both of your stories are so different, because it just goes to show the different examples that your experiences are so different. You were harmed, as you say, at birth, and you were not harmed at birth, but you still, at some point, were told that you needed certain surgeries that now, upon having more information, you realize that you actually may not have needed those surgeries at all.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And also for myself, personally, I feel completely, victimized by the whole medical community. Just like Dimakatso has said, like, when I went for my hospital checkups and for all my scans and stuff, it was very invasive. Like, there was never just one doctor. There was always just about 5 or 6 doctors, wanting to look at this patient. Like, I felt that I was a medical experiment for doctors at the point in my life, because they were just doing so much scans and so much testing. It's like they've never seen this type of person before in their life. However, medically speaking, is that they do go through training, on how to deal with intersex people. But I feel like doctors, whenever they have an intersex case, they treat it like a science project and they poke at you to try and normalize you, whatever they think normal is.
And I think that's something that people probably don't even think about is while for the medical fraternity, they might think we are doing research, we are teaching, we are getting better for the next time, you are still a person. Your dignity still needs to be preserved.
Yeah, definitely. And we have this thing growing up where parents teach you this is your private parts and you're not supposed to show this to anybody and it needs to always be private. But then look at the medical fraternity taking your entire privacy away and, having a professor in the office with 10 other students, you laying there naked, they are examining you, you feel completely violated as a person, firstly. Secondly, you feel that, something is completely wrong with me. Either I'm terminally ill or I am about to die because why are all these people in this room? But then it's just for them to research, to write a thesis, to use your body as an experiment. And I can promise you, whichever intersex person you speak to that has gone through surgery and that has been to doctors will tell you the exact same experience of how the medical fraternity actually violates intersex people.
And thank you for sharing that. That's absolutely horrible. Did you find the same thing?
It's bad. It's really bad, especially when you don't know what's wrong with you. Because I attended, I think I've seen a gynae, up until the age of 18, still not knowing what's wrong with me. And going to the doctor, you already know that you are going to be seen by probably 10 doctors on one bed, one person. And you feel like, whatever it is wrong with me, it's very wrong. But you still feel and see yourself as normal, So it's really bad. With me, hence I always said, I don't understand, why do they even call it a private part? Because from word go, it was never private with me.
Especially because I think maybe also there's a fine line between the medical aspect, but also just human curiosity of wanting to see.
Yeah, like Crystal just said, you somehow start feeling like an experiment, like a guinea pig. I actually felt like that because it was never nice for me to see my family always leaving and knowing the fact that my mom had to leave her job because she had to always come to Bara to breastfeed me and the whole day be at home. Be in hospital with me and having to leave from Soweto to Vosloorus, and somebody just comes and judge without even thinking of something like that your parents might be experiencing, So, those are the challenges that we go through as intersex.
Do you think that because you've already mentioned that you still are dealing with health issues, do you find that the medical community, even with all the awareness we have today being a bit more woke, is the medical community still invasive?
Medical industry as a whole, they do need education and they do need awareness about intersex babies. Because when it comes to intersex people have this belief that the people that would have the right answers are the doctors. And doctors have no knowledge about intersex bodies, not even intersex people. They have knowledge that intersex people do exist, but our anatomy, they have no awareness, they have no education. They still need to be educated too. Before they're making surgeries. Surgeries at all not supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be done. It's supposed to be from me. It's supposed to be my right. It's not supposed to. Nobody has a right to choose a gender. Not even my parents were supposed to choose a gender for me.
Do they know that now?
My dad knows that. My mom, I believe she knows that in heaven. Yeah, my dad knows that now because now I'm in a journey of removing the breast. And I've reckoned how much is now difficult for my dad. That Dimakatso, you've went through a lot of surgeries and to fit in the society boundary. Now I just want to do me. I want to be me. I don't want to be what people are expecting or what people want to see from me. I want to be me. I want to be an intersex, who I am, Yeah.
So what is your reason? Because you mentioned earlier that you are perfectly normal when you were born. What is the reason now that your body has produced breasts that you are choosing to remove them?
It didn't produce. It was a matter of the estrogen I was taking.
Oh, yeah. So it's as a result of the hormones.
Yeah.
I understand.
It is because of that. And so obviously I was never asked, Dimakatso, would you want to have breast? You know what I mean? So That's why I want to remove them, because I never wanted them.
When did your breasts develop?
I think 14, 15, if not mistaken.
So it was never, especially because at the time, and this is maybe another medical invasion, is that you're on medication, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So you're not even aware.
I was on medication, not knowing what is wrong with me.
So now that your body produced breasts, you're choosing to remove them because of what specific reason?
I don't want breasts.
You don't want breasts,
yes. And it's not to define me as a female or a male.
I got you.
It's just a matter of I don't want breasts. And they don't make me feel comfortable. When I look at the mirror, I don't feel okay having the breast. It's just my personal choice. It's me. It's who I am. I don't want breasts. And it's not about you that you have to. Some people were asking, since you want to remove the breast, so does it mean you want to be a boy? I'm like,
no.
If I didn't take estrogen, you were not going to answer me.
I understand. Yes.
So it would make it easier for me also, for you to know that this is who I am, this is how I was going to look, so that when I speak of where I come from and not of where I'm going, of who I am, you would know.
There's so much that I am learning and getting to understand, especially with what you just said now about the fact that those breasts would not have been there if had it not been for the estrogen supplement or medication that you were taking. So you want to remove them because they're not part of who you were going to be.
Besides, I don't want them.
And you don't want them, yes, which is the biggest reason.
That's the main reason I don't want breast. I don't like breast. I like breast on other people.
But not on you.
Not on me,
I got you. Crystal, I'd like to find out from you the term hermaphrodite being offensive and derogatory. What would you say the reason is for people to understand why it's offensive?
Yeah, so the term would basically mean that someone is naturally fully male and fully female in one body, which means it is completely, it's impossible for that to happen. And that's why a lot of, intersex people in the community do find the word very offensive because it's just not impossible. And also just because of all the conspiracies behind it, that hermaphrodite can impregnate themselves and, all this weird stuff that's on the internet about it. It's just a word that some intersex people just do not feel comfortable with people using. And I feel like that's also the term. The moment when someone says I'm intersex, people will automatically say, "Oh, that's a hermaphrodite." And it's really offensive and derogatory, and it's just not a term that the intersex community wants to use, because that doesn't explain intersex people, and that's definitely not one of the variations of how someone could be intersex.
And what are some of the myths and misconceptions that you've heard about, Dimakatso, about the intersex community or intersex individuals?
We don't have gender. I think she mentioned, we don't get pregnant. We don't deserve love. We don't deserve to be loved. We're not normal. We're not normal. I think that one really affects the most, that we're not normal, because being an intersex, it's our normality. You
mentioned some of the things that have been said your way. Are you afraid of being killed in this country?
Yeah, I am. I am also tired of always explaining myself to people for being different. I acknowledge that I'm born different, and probably I'm born different to make a difference. Though I believe actually every human being is different. Whether you're male or female, we're all different. So probably because us as intersex people, it sticks out that much that we're different. We don't really deserve to be killed for being different,
Crystal, on your side, what are the other myths and misconceptions about intersex individuals?
Yeah, you see, I think it first started with intersex variations being pathologized. because firstly they called it a disorder of sexual development, right? People saw that was very harmful, and then now later they've now changed to differences of sexual development. But it's still DSD, it's still pathologizing intersex people, calling it a medical problem. In some instances, some people will even call it a disability. And I think because of that, society will make up, a lot of stories about intersex people, and will have a lot of misconception about intersex people. I think sometimes the moment someone says, I am intersex, the first thing people think is that you are born with a penis and a vagina. Which, I mean, that is not the instance. There's over more than 30 intersex variations. No two intersex people are the same. And, like I previously said, being intersex could be linked to genitalia, but it could also be linked to chromosomes. It could also be linked to genetics, and it could be linked to many other things. Even with research being done now, some people even want to categorize people with having PCOS also intersex, because they
Can you
have
explain to our viewers, because we've mentioned that term before, what is PCOS so we all understand?
Yeah, so people, women with PCOS, could be women that have a hormonal imbalance within their body, and therefore they do not have good ovulation patterns and also good menstruation cycles, which sometimes could cause them to not fall pregnant, and then they would need to go through different treatments to fall pregnant. So they would need to balance their hormones, so they could have a better ovulation cycle and also a better menstruation cycle. And now because some intersex people also have problems with their hormones, a lot of people will confirm that PCOS could also be linked to a certain intersex variation, because it is an imbalancement of hormones within the body.
Okay, and I think that explains it well. What are the other myths and misconceptions that you were still explaining?
Yeah, I would just, like I said, in my instances that, I can't have biological children, but however, there are intersex people that, can have biological children. And also with, people saying that intersex people are born with both genitalia and they both function, and there's a lot of misconceptions about intersex people. But what I would just want to say is that being intersex is not just about your genitalia. It can be about many other things. And also being intersex is not a sexuality, or in essence, it's not a gender identity. However, intersex people can identify as intersex. However, it's just intersex people prove that, gender and sex is on a spectrum, and it's not just black and white of male and female and A and B, but it's just that intersex people are very different, but it's a natural variation. Someone is just born intersex, like someone is born cisgendered male or cisgendered female.
I think you've explained it quite well in that regard. So, Dimakatso, just as we start to close up, what would you like South Africans to know?
I would love for South Africans, especially when it comes to the medical industry, really being an intersex is not a medical condition. Surgeries, they must stop with the surgeries, because it complicates our lives in the long run. Actually does complicate our lives. They must stop choosing gender for us. And if you don't understand about intersex, it's either you Google, so you can get more informed about intersex babies.
Crystal?
I would just like people in South Africa to know that being born intersex is a natural variation. Intersex people are as normal as everybody else out there. We make up a huge percentage of the population, so someone you might know could even be intersex as well. I would also just like, like Dimakatso said, we want to stop intersex genital mutilation. So we want to stop all cosmetic surgery that is done on intersex children to normalize them. We would want that to stop completely. We just want intersex people to live a normal life, just like everybody else, and not feel isolated from society. And also, we don't want intersex people to be forced into shame and to secrecy, because the reason why we don't have statistics on intersex people is because they are forced in so much shame and secrecy that this is something that they never talk about. And that's why I'm so grateful for people like myself and for Dimakatso that can be out and proud to be intersex. And also just, intersex people are here, we exist. And, intersex people are the ones that should be talking about their lived realities, and not other people. And I also think as a country, we should also stop labeling people as intersex that we think are different unless that person has come out as intersex.
Dimakatso, do you think the LGBTQIA plus community has also misunderstood intersex? And do you think that the community leaves you guys out in the cold?
Well, the LGBTQ, I wouldn't say misunderstood. I know LGBTQI, I'm still learning also. It doesn't mean me being an intersex, I know and understand everything about LGBTQI. For the fact that they want to learn and learn more about us, there's been also, they also not understanding what is an I, or the fact that there's more than 30 types of intersex people, they still not understanding, but we are learning, we're having these conversations. I'm very grateful to organizations like Iranti and ISA, Gender Dynamics, for, putting these workshops and, actually putting this education out there.
Same question to you, Crystal.
Yeah, I would say within the LGBTQIA plus community, I think it's just what people need to understand is that you can be intersex and be lesbian. You could be intersex and be gay, and you could be intersex and be transgender, because you are transitioning from the gender that was chosen or assigned for you at birth. And I think a lot of people they don't understand that. They get confused, even in the LGBTQI community as well. And I mean, that's why as intersex people, not only do we, communicate, educate society, we also educate within our community as well. Because I know a lot of intersex people that has transitioned because they do not identify as the gender that was assigned for them at birth, or example, being given the estrogen and then growing breast, where they probably would not have grown breast if they were not on that hormone replacement. And therefore now they either decide to transition. And that's just a lot that people need to understand, that there's a lot of intersections when it comes to intersex people. And I think if we can understand that being intersex is not a sexuality, then we already have a big part of the puzzle together.
Thank you so much for that, Crystal, and thank you so much for joining in on this conversation. Thank you to you, Dimakatso. I appreciate, the both of you being so open about things that we would not ordinarily be asking about people, asking people like genitalia, questioning those things that really we would like to use for the purposes of educating, raising awareness, so that we wake up in a tomorrow where these no longer need to be discussed, because everybody understands. Yes, and you're not an outside, you're not an other, you're just part of so-called society's belief of normal.
We can't wait.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Dimakatso. Both of our guests that have joined us today, I'm so grateful to them, because we grow to live and we grow to learn. And I think, we've covered a couple of issues with the community at large. And even for myself, as just an ally to the community, I am learning so much, and I hope you can take this opportunity to learn and get to understand. 30 different variations that all have names, that all have specific characteristics. That means that there's more for us to learn and get to understand. But more importantly, let's just be accepting of one another, irrelevant of how the picture might look from the outside. You don't know. Let's be kind where we can. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to engage. Have a good night. Next time on Unpacked.
This is a lifelong condition. It is not going anywhere. You need 40 hours of therapy a week. Who has that kind of money? I don't have that kind of money. How does that even work? I can't explain it. I can't tell you why he does it, but he does.
What is the hope for your children, in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
In a country where there is support from infancy all the way, anything is possible. Your child can be whatever they are if there is support.
Unpacked with Relebogile Mabotja. New episodes weekdays at 5:30 p.m. on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Television edited broadcasts weekdays at 5 p.m. Open up to S3.